You then cool your 2 single strands. This allows them to be primed and then synthesized into, get this, 2 double strands. Now, instead of 1 double strand turning into 2 single strands, you have 2 double strands turning into 4 single strands. As you can imagine, this is exponential growth. This is why PCR is so important for getting DNA samples. Where was I? Oh yes, I was going to discuss the types of polymerase to use in PCR. All of them employ a heat-stable DNA polymerase, which is such as Taq polymerase, which is an enzyme that is originally isolated from the thermophilic bacterium Thermus aquaticus. Now, using your knowledge of prefixes and, I guess, etymology, what does thermophilic mean? Think about it. Work backwards here. That's okay. What is the meaning of the word thermophilic? Using your knowledge of etymology. That's okay. So, the meaning of the word thermophilic is heat-loving. Thermo, meaning temperature, in this case, high temperature. That's usually what thermo tends to imply if it's alone. High temperature. And philic, meaning likes. This is, of course, why the pedophile is what it is. Pedophiles are philic, meaning they like children. Okay? So, thermophilic, right, bacterium means it likes hot temperatures. Now, if this bacterium tends to prefer hotter temperatures, then what do you think that means for its evolution? Now, of course, for its evolution, if it prefers heat, that must mean, yes, it likes heat, but that impacts how it evolves. If it prefers heat and lives in heated areas, samples in the population will die off if they are not sufficiently heat resistant. So, that means over millions of years, the bacteria, and therefore all of the contents in the bacteria, have heat-resistant properties. So, if you were to take these bacteria, right, and you were to take their polymerase... Is this
hypothetical, by the way?
Yes, this is a hypothetical. However, it's only a hypothetical because I want it to be. I don't know. I'm no good with words, man. Anyway, like I was saying, you take the polymerase from this heat-resistant DNA, and now you have heat-resistant polymerase, right? So, this is Taq polymerase from Thermus aquaticus. T for thermus, AQ for aquaticus. Taq polymerase. Go figure. Now, if the polymerase used was heat susceptible, right? This is what I was saying. What do you think would happen? What do you know about enzymes and how specific they are? What happens to them when they're not in their very specific environment? Close enough. They denature, right? Now imagine if you had a lock and you had a key. The lock being the enzyme and the key being the substrate. If I blowtorch the lock and I change the ordering of the pins, will the key properly fit in and unlock the lock anymore?
No, because now it's too small.
Yes, now the shape is different. So the key, which is specific to the lock, is no longer able to fit in the lock. This is because the enzyme denatured. Because, like I said, polymerase is an enzyme. Right? So, now, that's why it's so important to have this heat-resistant polymerase. So you can expose it to extremely high temperatures and still, you know, not denature it. Anyway, before the use of Taq polymerase, DNA polymerase had to be manually added every cycle because of nature, right? Which was very tedious and very costly. So imagine, let's use bold terms so I don't have to teach you a whole bunch of things that won't be relevant to the rest of this conversation, just so I can explain how PCR works. Imagine you have an oven and a freezer, which in essence is basically what's happening. You take the DNA, you heat it up, you let it sit, you put it in the freezer, you let it sit, you heat it up, you do that over and over again. Imagine if after every step, you had to add more solution, which means potentially compromising the sample, and also it's a lot of extra work and a lot of extra money on polymerase. Now, let's move on to the principles of PCR. PCR amplifies a specific region of a DNA strand, known as the target. Most PCR methods amplify DNA fragments of between 0.1 and 10 kilobase pairs, which I may or may not refer to as KDP in the future.